Hello. Are you good? How are you? I'm fine. I'm good. Your family good? My family's good. Your family okay? Everything's fine in Pakistan. Good. My name is Rinkoo. And I'm here to talk about... Sorry. First, what's your name? My name is Ali. And my surname is Noonari. Okay, so do you have a sign name? This is my sign name. What do? I'm a Pakistan Sign Language teacher. Right, okay. Remember when we were talking about 2 years ago, I was supposed to have gone to visit you in Pakistan. I was so happy, the plans were so good. Everything, the funding was from Transforming Narratives. Unfortunately, we couldn't go because of coronavirus. I was really looking forward to meeting you and all the deaf people in Karachi. I was so excited. Unfortunately, we couldn't, so we had to change to work together remotely. So we want to focus on this project and talk about coronavirus issues which happened in Pakistan and in England. Okay. You remember? Yeah, I remember. You're right. We were planning for you to come to Pakistan. Coronavirus happened. It was so disappointing. And we talked about doing it remotely, and we tried to get some pictures and film or anything that happened in Pakistan to send to you. Lots of people around the world watched our project, and people have been contacting me about it. About Pakistan and the UK. It's the first time Pakistan had seen outside to work with different people in the world. And it was really good. So thank you for that. Okay, I'm really pleased to learn that. Remember the first time we started talking, our conversations through email and then text, and then we used WhatsApp? Yeah, that's right. And then we agreed to Zoom or FaceTime, and we realised we couldn't because it was a bit too blurry. Yeah, that's right. Our faces were not very clear, and we were trying to communicate. Unfortunately, it kept breaking down. Yeah, that's right. I was so tired of it. Yeah. Because my phone was old. Yeah, that's true. That's right. So I was thinking how we can solve this issue, and I thought, okay. Do we carry on emailing or texting or writing things down? But I felt your sign language is so beautiful, the language that you have to see you. Yeah, that's right. That's right, exactly. So we had to get some funding, and then finally you got a new phone. Yeah, that's right. I got a brand new phone. That's correct. When you gave me the new phone, I was so grateful. Thank you to the UK for supporting me. And when I started FaceTiming, I was so happy. We were able to communicate so clearly. Yeah, that's right. Yep. Your old phone's changed to a new phone. What did it feel like to see it? My old phone, the internet was really poor. It was breaking down a lot. So with your funding, I was really happy. I got an Apple iPhone. It was much better, much faster, much smoother and live. It was so crisp and clear. The conversations were perfect. The Pakistan deaf community is watching, so thank you. No problem at all. Good. Right then. When we start the interview for the first time, we were talking and exchanging our language and information. What are the issues in Pakistan? What life's like? What the deaf community is like? Same here in England. What are the problems in England? And so we're sharing our experiences, and we've learnt so much. Yeah. In Pakistan, We tried to take pictures and videos of everything and then send it to you through my phone with my sign language, all the details in the sign language. So the deaf community really enjoyed the different signing. Yeah, that's right. When that happened through coronavirus, everywhere seemed to have a problem. In Britain, we had a problem with coronavirus linked to people having to wear masks and having to wash hands, and people can't go outside the house. So I was wondering, in Pakistan, what was it like when coronavirus happened? Well, in Pakistan, they stopped people from visiting Pakistan because they're worried about coronavirus spreading so fast. They were closing everything. There was a lockdown. And family and friends. So I had to stay at home. It was so boring. The deaf children had to learn through home, but they didn't learn much because the internet kept breaking down. And that affected all deaf people, really. It felt like, we didn't really get much out of it. So after 6 months or 8 months, when things started to open, it was difficult with people's psychology, their minds and their health was not like it was before. It was nice and strong. Now it was different. It affected everybody. Mental health issues. Oh, I see, right. Mental health issues, like what? Well, like people staying in the house. It felt like, okay, so you mean you were talking about mental health? Yes, mental health. Why is that? Because people used to look at their phones on the internet. They were bored, they were reading that. And that affects people's brains. Before, I never used to rely on my phone or the internet. My mind was fine. But now it's different. People's attitudes changed, their behaviours changed. When that happened, you relied on the phone. But before, what was it like? What was life like in Pakistan? Well, we just like walking, going out, regularly visiting people, getting some fresh air. Our mental health was good, meeting with friends. We were happy. But then suddenly in lockdown, it just changed a lot. We relied on our phone. We really noticed mental health was affected. Okay, wow. In the UK, we're always relying on our phones and the internet. But when coronavirus happened, or just before that really, it was just the same. There was no change. Oh, I see. You're right. Before we saw family, it was warm, we were close. But now it's changed. It's become more reliant on our phones. Really, attitudes have changed. Wow. I remember when in the UK, the government said we had to stay at home. During lockdown, we had to sort of listen to our Prime Minister to see what he was saying. And then obviously in Pakistan, I saw on the TV, in the news, they had a similar thing. They weren't sort of following social distancing, they were still hugging. And a lot of people got COVID. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, we did. I was amazed. Oh my God, is that true? Is that true? It happened? Yeah, that's true. That is true. That did happen. Why? Why did it happen? Because in Pakistan, obviously different countries did things in different ways and had different perspectives. The Pakistani government banned all international travel. Of course, the government implemented social distancing because the virus was in the air. It was awful. Now, I think it's still like that now. We still have issues. I remember you told me when people in Pakistan kind of weren't really caring about coronavirus compared to the UK. It was so strict, stay at home and lockdown. Some of the shops were closing. I was in a bit of a panic, couldn't go out. But when I saw what it was like in Pakistan, it was okay. You said it was okay. And I said, no, you have to stay at home. And you said, oh no, we'll try to, but people are ignoring the rules. Yeah, that's right, definitely. I ignored it, I went out. But the police were so strict. People who need milk or food, for example, or medication, fine, go out. But the police would stop you. So people couldn't go out, they were bored. Poor people couldn't go and get the food, it was so difficult. The Prime Minister gave money to people. He gave money to beggars, for example. Okay, right. So now I'm in the UK and I have most people had to stay at home. So we have the deaf community, their mental health has got worse because of lockdown, because they had nothing to do, because they couldn't meet other people, they couldn't get in the deaf community, they had to stay at home by themselves. So hearing family could all talk very easily and communicate, but the deaf people couldn't communicate, and that affected their mental health. And I realised a lot of deaf people could have mental health problems in the UK because of coronavirus. Now, I remember in Pakistan, the deaf schools closed down. What were the deaf people like there? Oh, well, in Pakistan, we tried to use webcams, video calls. We tried to do cooking, tried to do something. Play games, meet friends in secret. But we couldn't because people were concerned. Because people didn't have jobs, because all the shops were shut. People tried to find money. It was so difficult. They couldn't make money. It was so concerning. It was so hard to survive. Also, the school children. We have deaf children who go to school, but we couldn't pay the fees every month because we had no support financially. For 1 month or 2 months we had no money, so some schools were okay, don't worry about paying. For 2 months you'll have to owe that money. So we were so happy with that the deaf children could go. We felt relieved, but it was half good but half difficult here. Okay, so did you have any deaf people die related to coronavirus? I just thought I'd ask. Yeah, we had 1 or 2 deaf people who died through coronavirus, yeah. Some were really ill and then they died. There was no real support from the doctors for coronavirus. We tried to keep away from people who'd got it, but yeah, it's not really good here. Oh, okay. So in the UK, we had some deaf people who died, 1, 2 or 3. I'm not sure what the accurate number is. I haven't seen what the accurate number is, so I don't know. But we know some deaf people who've died here as well. Yeah. Well, here we had one well-known deaf person in the community in Pakistan. He died. All deaf people knew that person. He was sort of famous in the deaf community in Pakistan. People respected him a lot. So unfortunately he died here in Karachi. And that was related to coronavirus. He went to Lahore for bowling, for games. And when that finished, he went to socialise. And the next day he felt very, very ill. He didn't have the vaccination or anything, so he decided to stay on for a few days, and then he died in Lahore, and then they moved his body to Karachi. We were all so sad. Wow. He went to Lahore for bowling. Yeah, for bowling, playing games with a team, and then one of them got coronavirus, decided to isolate, didn't want to mix with them but didn't wear a mask, and the next day got ill for 3 days and then died really quick. So everybody was crying, the whole community, poor people, deaf people. Yeah, he was a really well-respected man. Helped the deaf community a lot. It was so sad he passed away. What was his name? His name was Ahmed Ali. I've shown you the picture. I'm so sorry to learn that he passed away. Sounds like he was quite a big person to the deaf community. I just want to know people in Pakistan who are deaf in Karachi and Lahore and other parts of the country. What is deaf people's life like? Is deaf people's life in Karachi the same as it's like in Lahore? Is life good? What's it like? Really, here in Karachi, it's different. Deaf people have problems through lockdown. They can't do things. So some deaf people go out, like to do that, but they've got mental health issues now because they've stayed at home and been isolated and not visited people, not gone to the restaurants, not gone to visit friends. So they're bored. Been watching YouTube, learning something new, cooking skills. Really, they're bored. Okay, so coronavirus made them stay at home. Yeah. So before coronavirus, was it different? Before it was fine, we'd go out, but we didn't really stay in. But now it's different. We're trying to go out, but coronavirus impacted people. They didn't learn much. They didn't see sign language properly through the phones. They were fed up. We'd go to the classroom in the school and would have conversations with deaf children. That's great, but many people don't like to use FaceTime or the internet for that. Some deaf people tried to phone me, tried to ask me to sign. I just didn't have the time to talk to people. I was working, I had things to do. I had to sort out the technological issues, tried to help my family. I didn't have time to help. Some deaf people asked me to teach them how to write English, and I had to say, I'm sorry, I don't have time. Okay, wow. Okay, let's just move off the topic of coronavirus for a second. I want to focus on talking about people's lives, like in Pakistan. For example, in Britain, in the UK, deaf people in the UK have problems. For example, people aren't working or there's not many job opportunities. Hearing people don't give deaf people jobs. In the old days, it was harder, and now it seems like it's getting better to try and bring deaf people into work. Now I see deaf people involved in acting, in TV, and that's growing slowly. The only problem in the UK is that the deaf community, mental health is a problem. There's a lot of problems with deaf mental health in the UK. So what are the concerns in Pakistan? What are the problems? What's good and what's bad with life? Are there job problems or what? Okay. In Pakistan, school education is fine, but when it's finished and people try and find a job, they really struggle. They'll struggle to try and find a job, and some people can't write Urdu. So the manager sees that and looks at that and judges them, and they don't know how to write. They might not have the necessary skills. They don't get people involved in work. They get rid of them. Most deaf people have low income. They try to find better incomes and they can't. They're heartbroken really and sad. It's so difficult. They want to work hard but pays little compared to hearing people who get better salaries. But deaf people get low money compared to hearing people. There's an inequality there. In Pakistan, when people have finished education and got qualifications, unfortunately, employers say you can't read English, so they won't give them promotion. So deaf people feel heartbroken and feel sad about that. Some deaf people know how to write English, but only 5%. In Pakistan, deaf schools, the education is not that good. About 95% of deaf people can't read or write because the teacher, they're not deaf. They just write on the board. They don't know how to explain what it means or understand the context of the meaning or what the words mean or what the English writing means. So a deaf student looks at that, they just copy the writing, and that's finished, and they leave school. And then deaf students try and find jobs and realise they can't read or write. And hearing people kind of say, you can't read or write, you're out, and don't offer them a job. Wow. The teaching in Pakistan is so bad. The government haven't really done a good job. Not just the teachers. The teachers don't have qualifications. They don't have proper government education training or processes. They set up their own schools, and they're hearing people think they know best and do it their own way. And that's a big problem in Pakistan. I see, right, interesting. Do families treat deaf people well? Is family life good? Well, we do have family problems. Some families, their mum and dad, brothers and sisters, they don't really respect a deaf child because they don't read or write. So they kind of leave them out of things, leave them asleep, just feed them, go and find a job, go and get money, don't live here, get out of the house kind of attitude. Many deaf people feel sad being kicked out of home. So families kick them out. Yeah, families are not interested. They don't really have a heart. They just let them go. Be quiet and go. That kind of thing. Do you see many deaf people like that in Pakistan? Yeah. Family life here, there's too many problems. It's too complicated with deaf people. They don't know how to do it, so they just prefer to leave it. It's very common in Pakistan. That's so sad. Yeah. I realised I have emotions about that. I try and support deaf people, get them together, try and encourage them into work, try and encourage them to have a better life. I try and help them. I try and sort out their jobs. So today we have a job interview for some people. A company's going to come here. They are going to talk to some people we've got here and hopefully offer them jobs. So you try to find deaf people and give them jobs? Yes. Inshallah. Inshallah. I think when you told me about deaf people who sign different from different parts of Pakistan, in Karachi is also Lahore. Can you tell me more about the sign languages? Oh yeah, regional sign languages, they have regional variations. For example, to sign S in Punjab, they sign it this way with a different sign. In Sindhi, we sign different to Punjab, for example. We have 4 different varieties of sign language. Yes, 4 different varieties of sign language in Pakistan. The government have a standard type of sign language which is used across Pakistan, and that is used in government information and teaching, and that's the same everywhere. But people have their own sign languages and reject the government sign language. They've really left people to create their own sign languages in different areas, and people argue about what's right and what's wrong and accusing each other of not knowing what the language is and what's official. Wow, that is exactly the same in the UK. Deaf people say that I'm wrong and you're right. I remember you told me the different signs. For example, in Punjab, they sign beautifully there. Yes, yes. Punjab sign language is strong, very beautiful. Can you tell me what's the difference? Punjab sign language is very smooth. Why? They have a better society. They go out and meet people. They have more practice. But their education is not really that great. But their sign language is just beautiful, and that's the difference. Okay, thank you. So in Karachi, we have more education, but the sign language is not very good. It's not very smooth. People don't sign beautifully here. It's a bit different. Why are they both different? Because in Punjab, people have more of a free mind. They can do what they want. They can go out, play games, meet people, socialise, make friends, and go out. Everything like that. Take tea, sign to each other, have fun, and practice sign language. In Punjab, they have a word called Habib, and that means togetherness. We love one another. We're united. But here in the Sindhi area, it's different. We're not really Habib. Wow, interesting. Can you tell me about your job? I'm responsible for Pakistan Sign Language. Also, my job is to try and find deaf people, to bring them in, and then offer them job opportunities. And then I ask hearing companies to come, and then I'll support them to employ someone. I'm a go-between between the two. So usually I receive lots of application forms I have to read. At the moment, I have 2 different jobs. Are you responsible for translation? Yeah. I translate in between the hearing person from the company, engineering, or a boss, for example, might come, and I'll enable the conversation with the person. I'm in the middle translating until they decide to give them work with that company. Oh, that's a really good process, I see. So helping translate and getting people involved, that's good. Jobs will they get? Well, they get jobs linked to computers, science. What do you mean science? Linked to AI. AI? Artificial intelligence. It's linked to artificial intelligence. That's the sign. Artificial intelligence. It's linked to computing, developing. Also, jobs in sewing, clothing, tailoring, parcel wrapping, sewing. Lots of simple jobs. Unfortunately, most deaf people can't have a job in the office. Office is more for people who are better educated. That's the same in the UK. British people think deaf people can't have a better job. Hearing people get the better jobs and leave deaf people with the lower jobs. It's interesting to see that, but it's very similar to what happens here in the UK and in Pakistan. But it seems like in the UK, before deaf people didn't have jobs, they've got jobs, and deaf people are in the jobs and they seem happy. More and more people have got work, which is good. But most deaf people here work in jobs, for example, like stacking shelves in supermarkets, and I'm like, that's it? Or packing boxes? Come on. There's not many deaf people working in the office. Usually it's hearing people who have the top layers and deaf people are at the bottom. So Britain's got there first, then Pakistan seems to be a step behind, but I can see a similar structure. I think it's important to have a job. Yes, it is important, that's true. Here, many deaf people don't have a job, but they're trying to look for work. There's so many people who have finished school and got qualifications but can't find jobs. For lots of hearing people, it's easy to get the job compared to deaf people, but employers don't offer jobs to deaf people really. Most hearing employers who come here see deaf people and feel sad. They have a lot of sympathy. towards deaf people. So they kind of say, okay, we'll give you a job. It's really hard. Okay, so what would you like to see in the future? What would you like to see in Pakistan, in the deaf community? Do you have any dreams of what you really want to see? In the future, I'd like to see more people who can use sign language to translate. Also, I'd like the government to give people tax-free opportunities to make sure they have benefits, because here there's not much in the way of benefits for deaf people. So people can then live separately from their families, so deaf children can be more independent, have their own homes, and also deaf children can get free education, because most people have to pay for education for deaf children. So unfortunately, I want them to have free education as well for deaf children. Oh, I see. Right, that's good. Okay. I hope that happens. Time is nearly finished now, so thank you so much for our discussion. It's been amazing talking to you. Thank you. We've learnt so much. And one day, hopefully, in the future, I'm going to come over to Pakistan, or maybe you can come here one day. Oh yeah, that would be great. You're more than welcome. I don't mind if I come to you or you come here. If you come here, then deaf people will see you and see what you've achieved. Oh, really? Thank you so much. Good to see you. Thank you. Bye-bye. Bye-bye.